movie nerds, welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, of course, we are going to be talking about House of the Dragon Episode 7. I did see, before we jump into it, that we're going to do another time jump in House of the Dragon Episode 8. So the children are going to be a little bit older, in my opinion, probably significantly older. So I don't know who came up with this plan, but I don't like the time jumpy stuff because it seems like we've spent very, very little time with the characters as they are right now before we jump forward again in time. However, as we jump into it, of course, there are going to be spoilers. I cannot talk about House of the Dragon without spoilers, people. I can't do it. So this episode, I feel like, how is it every single episode, even if nothing really huge happens, I don't think we've seen something as not epic, because I feel like a lot of things are pretty epic in the show, but like Daemon's battle, we haven't seen something quite like that at the Stone Steps at this point. But episode 7, I will have to say, it was crazy in a lot of different ways. Notably, we start out this whole episode with Lena's funeral. So we're back at Driftmark in order to have the funeral there, which was actually pretty nice. Like, it was nice to kind of see how Driftmark does that and to watch Lena kind of fall in her casket to the bottom of the ocean where all of her ancestors are. I thought that was pretty poetic. She wanted to go home and she ended up back at home. Maybe not in the way that she had pictured, but at the end she did get what she wanted. I know that the tension between everyone at this funeral was just off the charts, and Rhaenyra and Daemon kind of circling around each other the whole time, but afraid to obviously be next to each other or near each other where there are other people that can see, was pretty crazy. But man, just the fight between the kids, here is how I know that I enjoy a show. When I start to get violently angry at characters in the show, I know that I love it. And that is Alicent and her horrible, horrible children. I could not dislike them more. And I feel like that speaks volumes for not only how good of an actress both of the actresses have been that have played Alicent, but how good the children act. Because for sure, as you guys know, with my Doctor Strange episode, for instance, which check that one out if you haven't listened to it yet, you know that I hated those kids in that movie because child actors do not all come with the same capacity to continue being great actors, right? Some of them are just filler, and the children from Doctor Strange were filler. They were not ones that I would be interested to see how their career moved and what other things that they sign up for. But her kids, man, her kids, I cannot stand them. And that little boy, was it Aemond, who started the fight in the first place and then loses his eye. I was like, boo-ha-ha. Which you should not have that reaction when a child loses their eye. But I was like, ooh, he deserved it. He deserved it. Stealing dragons. No one steals dragons. I honestly was pretty surprised, let's say, by the fact that he was able to take Vhagar in the first place. I expected the dragon to put up a little bit more of a kerfuffle. If that is as easy as it is to just take over a dragon, I don't understand what all the hullabaloo is about not having them, So, I don't know. That one kind of confused me a little bit. But so now definitely Alicent and Viserys, they have more dragons on their side, including one that is a beast because her kid took it. But man, that scene in the room in Driftmark, inside the keep there at Driftmark, when they're trying to suss out what happened and it's all the kids and all the parents and it's basically a he said, she said, back and forth, tit for tat with these kids. And of course, like with kids, you're not expecting it to be truthful 100%. Of course, you're expecting them to point fingers at each other. But in this case, they were all pointing their finger at the right person, and it didn't seem to do anyone any justice. But Alicent coming at Rhaenyra and just being like, listen, it's fine, no biggie. Her kids took my kid's eye, and so all I'm asking for in return is that her kids lose an eye. Like, that was wild. I was like, okay, well, Alicent is a psychopath. That's clear at this point. I can't put myself in the shoes, of her, or what it would feel like to have your kid be basically maimed for the rest of his life. But golly, I cannot imagine my reaction to something like that being so much anger that I want to stab a little boy's eye out. Like, that doesn't compute to me. But I guess to Alicent, that's fine. And to her dad, definitely, because he was like, finally, you have the gumption to go ahead and do the things that you need to do in order to win, right? Which is wild to me that you would like congratulate a daughter for wanting to stab a boy's eyes out. But especially because I feel like with the fight with the kids, you have to know, hopefully you have to know that those children are so young that like a scrap between them was not intentional or malicious, that it was in fact an accident. I mean, regardless, you shouldn't bring a knife to a kid fight, but like, in the times and the age of it, I mean, it's Westeros, so you have to imagine that it's going to be a lot more scrappy than, what you anticipate. But Alicent and then Sir Criston, man, ooh, I went from really liking him because I enjoyed the fact that him and Rhaenyra had a thing to now I just cannot stand him, and I want to watch him just go out in some flame. I want Rhaenyra to just burn him. I don't know, like if I had a dragon, so many more people in this show would be dead because I just wouldn't take it. Like, I wouldn't take the disrespect from Alicent, I don't think, if I had a dragon and she didn't. It's like, why wouldn't you just take care? I don't know. Why wouldn't you just take care of your problems? Is it against the rules? I don't know. I don't know the rules of Westeros. Doesn't seem like there are any at this point. But I do love kind of the tension of it and how well everyone did in that room, like how well everyone reacted to it. Just, Daemon off smirking in his corner per Daemon's beautifulness, and then everyone else really having that, what's the word I'm even looking for? Really having like that passion there from both sides, from wanting revenge for what's happened to your kid to the other side of Rhaenyra really wanting to protect her children. And the moment in that scene that I enjoyed the most was seeing the two sides very clearly divided. The way that they kind of paused at the end, so that you see Rhaenyra, you see Daemon, you see her kids, you see his kids, you see the Lord of Driftmark there very clearly on her side, at least for that moment. And then you see Alicent and Sir Criston on the other side. And that's basically what she's got. And so I'm very curious to see like how the Dance of the Dragons goes, because I feel like in my mind, other than what happens in a second, which we'll get to, in my mind, right at that moment, it's like, well, clearly Rhaenyra has more people on her side. And then she goes and like fakes her husband's death because her and Daemon want to be together. The only thing that they can do is kill her husband. And you see, here is the thing. I knew something was up when Daemon went to the boyfriend, because I was like, there is absolutely no way that the boyfriend, for any amount of money, I just didn't believe that he would kill his lover. Like I didn't feel like that would be a thing that would happen. So when they pulled him out of the fire, I was like, something feels weird. So watching Laenor run to the boat, and that he's basically just shaved his head and he's on the boat, and him and his lover can escape and go and be together, and he has his freedom, and that Rhaenyra, after all she suffered, still has enough compassion to let him go, I think is a lot. Like, Obviously, she wants him to have his happiness. She understands, and I think that he understands, which is why he went along with it, that her and Damon, that is her happiness. That as much as I'm sure she appreciated him coming to her and saying, listen, I've been a shitty husband and I want to just focus on you and help you. I'm sure that he understands that, like, that's not what she wants. And that he was willing to go along with this plan and just say, you can have your happiness in the form in which it matters most to you. And having the appreciation of her to let him go and have his own happiness and not have to really be tied to something that he never really wanted in the first place. I felt like that was pretty poetic. But I don't know. I'm anxious to see kind of what's going on in the next episode. Like I said, we have another time jump. So it seems like Aemond, who is the little boy who lost his eye, in the next episode is going to be about the same age as his older brother is, like currently. So he's more of that older teenager. I am assuming that his older brother then will be more of an adult at this point. But, we've got a number of years then that Aemond has been with Vhagar and been able to like have a dragon and bond with that dragon. And, we all know the dragons are pretty like sticklers about who they're going to stick with or not. That dragon just up and left, right? Driftmark. Like it just took off and went back with Viserys on the ship. So back to King's Landing. So you have to imagine that's a pretty big beast to have on your side at this point. And I know things are not looking good for Rhaenyra, but I love her. She's like my favorite. She's my favorite. I don't know. I feel like I just like the Targaryens. They were my favorite from Game of Thrones. They're going to be my favorite in this show. I just like them. And I do love that Rhaenyra and Daemon are married now. They've conjoined their families. And, exactly like what she says when they're hatching this plan. She's like, we don't have to do these terrible things, but now they're going to know we're a force to reckon with. And that, if we're willing to do this thing that they think we've done, i.e. if they think that we're willing to murder someone in order to be together, imagine what else they think we're capable of, because your mind does wander after things like that. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. You guys are going to have to let me know what you thought of this House of the Dragon episode. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like the content here. I would love you to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.